Hello, Sully again. I'm going to do an installation of Otto on a customer server today. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to open up the directions. Wow, people actually use directions, right? So, FileMaker Server isn't actually, I'll put this in the notes, but FileMaker Server is installed. I mean, tech requirements. Okay, make sure you have a swap file. What's a swap file? Well, if you only have X number of gigabytes of RAM and your files, your FMP12 files are bigger than that, then when you start doing things like migrating all of the data from one file into the other, there has to be somewhere to hold all that information. So in Windows systems, we usually have a page file or a swap file. In Linux, that is for virtual memory. So basically just a little bit of hard drive space that's set aside for when we don't have enough RAM. So we're going to do that first. We're also going to open up port 3030, right? And then we'll deal with the SSL passphrase. So first thing, let's make a swap file. We're going to go to connect to our instance. So when you connect to an instance, you do it this way, right? From your AWS console, you type EC2 up here in the top and you click EC2. Then you go to your instances, you pick the instance and click connect. So I'm going to do that, right? So you have instances. This is the one that's running. We're going to connect. That's how we get back there. So if I hit connect, it's going to bring up this Linux GUI. Linux GUI. That Linux doesn't have a GUI. This Linux command prompt. And then we're going to start doing this stuff. Sudo super user do fallocate -l. And then we're going to type in the number of gigabytes of hard drive space we want to set aside for this. So they recommend, I believe, 2 or 3 times as much as the size of your backup of like a full backup, right? So the file for this customer isn't very large yet. So I'm just going to do a 4G or 4 gigabyte swap file. And, right? So you type that in. No success messages needed, right? Then we're going to give control ch change mod. Actually, we're going to make it possible for those permissions, right? We need to make it possible that the root user is the only one that can access it, right? So then we're going to turn it into a swap, right? So we've allocated some space. We've said only the root user gets it. Then we're going to do make swap file. So, okay, we've now turned that into a swap, right? So that's a special kind of space that is used for virtual memory. Then we'll turn it on, right? Just because the space is allocated doesn't mean that it's on, but now it's on. And now we're going to make it persistent, right? We want it to load every time it boots. So we're going to go sudo nano /etc/fs tab. So this is a configuration file that tells us what we're going to boot, right? So I'm going to add this line at the end, /swap file, none swap sw 0 and then I'm going to save the file. Yes, save the file. And if I want to, I can adjust the swappiness of it after that. That's how aggressively the system swaps out memory to the swap space, but the default is usually fine. So we're going to leave that there. So now I have a swap file set up. So that knocks off this guy, right? So next is port 3030. So if you go back to your EC2 instances, right, go to the one that you're actually talking about. We're going to go to security, inbound rules. You have to have this guy, this 3030 in there. This is your hardware firewall. So there's also a software firewall that FileMaker installs that the guys at Proofgeist already programmed in. It'll poke a hole in there for Otto as well. But it won't get past the AWS hardware firewall if you don't put this rule in here. To add that rule, you click on the security group, you click edit inbound rules, and then you just make sure that you have a line here that's 3030. You can restrict it to a specific IP address, right? So if you only want to be able to do Otto from one particular server, you'd put that server's IP address in here. I'm not that concerned about this one, so I'm not going to do that. But if you don't see an empty line on here, you can always click Add Rule, and when you're done, just click Save Rules. So, I've not made any changes. Okay, so don't have to worry about that. So next up, know your SSL passphrase, right? So you remember when you installed your SSL certificate, if you gave it a password, I always do. It's mostly out of habit, but if you gave it a password, you're going to need that password. So, okay, next up. So SSH into your server. That's this. Download the installer file, right? Now you can go to here or go to your downloads and then upload the file to S3 and then download it from there, right? There's actually a tab over here that says version history. Now, if you open this, I'm going to open it in a new window. What's this? There it is. There's the same thing. So I'm going to right click and copy this address. Then I'm going to type in sudo, well, let's make sure I'm on the right directory first. CD tilde, right, home directory, sudo curl -o auto.zip, and then I'm going to paste in that address. If I hit enter, it's going to download without you having to go through the process of downloading it locally and then, right, it'll download directly to your Linux instance rather than downloading to your local machine and then having to upload it somewhere and then download it from there. Right, so if I hit ls, I can see I got that auto.zip. I'm going to unzip auto.zip, right? That gives me this auto folder. I'm going to change to the auto folder. Again, handy Linux tip, you type in the first character or two, hit tab, it'll take you there, right? And then this is what we got, right? That's the file to do the install. Now it says here, right, this is the command line. Make sure you change this version part. So what I'm going to do just to make it easy on myself is just copy the first couple of things here. I'm going to paste it in there, and then I'm going to hit tab. Right? So it'll actually do a lot of that stuff without me needing to do it. It'll do it without me having to type. So I'm gonna wait for this. I'm creating a sim link, system linking a service together. Right? Okay. Download is performed on Sandbox's root. Don't worry about this. It says that every time. Now, the next step here says install the license. Right? Well, I can't do that until I have opened up that port, right? So I can't open the port until I input my passphrase. So I'm going to add an SSL passphrase. There's this extra piece, right? So it says navigate to the Otto application folder, open the config directory, and make a text file. Let's do that. So where am I? So if I go back to my home directory, is it there? No. It's actually cd/opt/ capital O Otto /config, right? There's nothing in here, but this is where they want you to go. So then I'm going to go sudo nano, and I need a text file named search passphrase. Copy, paste. Then in here, I'm going to type in my certificate passphrase and then save the file. Now for the sake of this customer, don't need to see that. I'm going to do that off screen. Save modified buffer, right phrase. Okay, cool. So we've saved that. And now we can go on to the next part, which is opening the ports. So I'm just going to hit copy because this will work perfectly. And I can hit paste, just hit enter. 2 successful shots there. Okay, so now if I go to, right, if I go over here, this is their FileMaker admin console. If I take off everything after their FQDN, I'll type 3030. Ooh, it should be able to take us there. What did I do wrong? Open Otto's web console on your server. That's where it should be. Did I forget to start it? Did I install? Did I install? I installed. Newly installed. Right? Maybe I need to reboot. Well, we already did this part. What am I missing? I did all of these pieces. Oh, I probably need to reboot Otto after having put in my passphrase. Right? It probably didn't load it the first time. So I'm going to check and see if anybody's on this server. It's always a good practice when you're setting these things up. Where'd it go? So I'm trying to think and talk at the same time. Always a good practice when you're setting up these types of things. You're setting up a new server, migrating some databases for the first time to a new server. It's good to set up just a whole new server on a whole new EC2 instance. It takes an extra 10 minutes. And that allows you to do things like, oh, well, nobody's on here yet because they don't know where it is. So I'm going to hit stop on my database server. I'm going to stop the server. I'm going to reboot. Sudo reboot now. Can't type anything in because we're rebooting. This is going to go offline, right? And it's going to reset. Just wait for this to come up. I'm going to eat a chip. Very crunchy chip. Thinking about it. Nope. These Linux instances do come up a lot faster than their Windows counterparts. It's not trying to load up several gigabytes of other stuff. Yep, there it is. See if we can get an admin console. Oh, almost there. There's the admin console. How about Otto? There's Otto. So in order to log into Otto, the next thing that we need to do is going to copy the username and password from this guy. Copy password. Please enter your license. So once again, I'm going to do this off screen. Just so that we don't upset our wonderful customers. Right, so okay, good. Now I'm activated. So we're good to go. and I can install Migrator and start setting up migrations. So it's a great tool. I love using it. It keeps you out of trouble, and it also makes it possible for you to get your Sundays back if you used to. I used to do this all the time. Sunday was the day I'd spend the most time on servers and everything, and I still spend a Sunday here or there, like it's Sunday today, but I still spend a Sunday here or there migrating things, um, or setting up a new server or whatnot. But most of the work is done by Otto, which is great. So, uh, all right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little informational thing. It's great to have this available on uh, the ARM processors as well. So this particular EC2 instance is running on an ARM A1 instance, right? So these uh, these instances, man, they twice as many cores for the same price as a T2 instance. So hats off to the team at Claris, to the team at Proofgeist, and Todd Geist himself for putting this all together. It's a wonderful product. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. All right, Sully signing out. Hope you enjoyed. Bye bye.